following scenario was suggested by the YouTube user Crystal Abrahams. This broadcast is entirely fictional. All names, characters, locations, and events are products of imagination, created only for storytelling and dramatic effect. Any similarities to real people, places, or situations are purely coincidental. The content is not meant to harm, insult, or single out any person, group, community, or belief. Listener discretion is advised. Drop a comment. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I don't know why it's so satisfying to read where people are watching from at 2:37 a.m., but it is. It's 11:58 p.m. The temperature outside is 103 degrees. No wind, no cloud cover. Just this heavy, still heat that feels like it's pressing your body into the earth. My legs have been sticking to this vinyl chair for hours now, and the sweat under my shirt dried hours ago and came back again. I'm broadcasting from the backup rig in what used to be the basement of an AM sports station on Route 17, just south of West Point. The power grid failed 3 nights ago. Everything I'm running now, this mic, the transmitter, the battery backup keeping the tower barely alive, is being fed by a car battery rigged up with copper wire, a small inverter, and whatever gas I've got left in the generator tank. I don't know who's listening anymore, or if anyone can. But if you are, I need you to know something happened. Something big. And it's not over. Not even close. It started with the lights in the sky. Auroras, they said. I've never seen one before. Never had a reason to. I was born in South Carolina, and the only thing I ever saw in the night sky that lit me up like that was heat lightning, and maybe a few 4th of July fireworks when my cousins got hold of illegal ones from Georgia. But these lights, God, they were green, blue, violet. They danced. They flickered. It wasn't just the poles either. They were seen as far south as New Mexico, even parts of Mexico City, Japan, Saudi Arabia. There were videos going around for a while before the internet fell apart. People smiling, laughing. I think there's something so human about how excited we get when something beautiful appears right before it all burns down. That was 5 days ago. I remember the night it started, sitting in the station with a cold bottle of water against my neck and a bag of chips between my knees. I just wrapped the midnight segment on minor league baseball reruns. The lights started around 1:11 a.m., like some god flipped a switch in the sky. I ran outside. Half the town was already in the street. People holding up their phones trying to record it. Kids on bikes, no helmets. I saw a man I hadn't seen in years. Frankie Bell, who used to run the welding shop down on Main, standing in his bathrobe, barefoot on the blacktop, just looking up with his mouth hanging open like a man seeing God. We didn't know yet. Not then. By sunrise, commercial flights were being rerouted mid-air. GPS errors. Pilots losing position data, drifting off course. Some of them tried to land without instruments. A few didn't make it. I caught the last full broadcast from Denver Air Traffic Control before the feed started cutting out. There were gaps in it, static patches, but you could hear the panic under the surface. They were asking for backup from ground spotters. They were trying to reach pilots through shortwave channels. They said the nav satellites were behaving erratically. That time drift was increasing by the hour. By that evening, the radios began to fall silent. HF bands first, then VHF. Then everything above UHF started sounding like glass breaking in a rainstorm. The local ham guys, the ones who used to meet for breakfast every Friday down at that diner off Highway 8, they were still transmitting through the static. I caught bits of them between bursts of interference. One of them, call sign Whiskey 6 Romeo Mike, he sounded scared, kept saying, "The satellites are dying." That was the phrase. The satellites are dying. Over and over. Then nothing. I called my sister in Tallahassee. Never got through. My last text from her was a picture of the sky and a message that said, "I don't know if this is beautiful or terrifying. I think I know now." Power grids started failing 2 days later. Not just rolling outages. Full failure. Whole counties blinking out like someone unplugged the map. They're saying it was geomagnetic induction. Solar currents pushing back into transformers, frying the circuits, overloading the lines. In 1989, it happened to Quebec. 9 hours of darkness. But this is worse. It's not one province. It's not 9 hours. This was the whole Northeast corridor. I don't even know how far it's spread. The last signal I picked up from the NOAA station in Virginia said the transformers were irrecoverably damaged. Their words, not mine. They said there weren't enough replacement parts in the country. And even if there were, we don't have the power to build new ones anymore. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you about the first full blackout night. That was 2 days ago, and I remember every second. It was quiet, not peaceful quiet, empty quiet, no AC units humming, no traffic noise, no lights in the windows across the street. It was so dark, you could see stars you didn't even know existed, and it was hot. God, it was hot, not normal heat. This sticky, suffocating, sour kind of heat that made it hard to breathe. People came out of their houses that night, not to see the sky, but because they couldn't stand the heat inside. I saw whole families sitting on porches with wet towels draped over their heads, like they were waiting for something. Then someone screamed. I ran out into the street with a flashlight. Half the batteries were already gone, but it was better than nothing. I followed the sound to the corner of 3rd and Maple. A generator had caught fire. Too much draw. The thing had overloaded, belched smoke, then exploded. Flames were licking up the side of the Reynolds place, and there was no one to call. No fire trucks. No water pressure. People stood there, holding garden hoses that barely dribbled out a trickle of warm spit. The house burned down in 23 minutes, and we all just watched. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the studio, flipping the radio through static and memory, waiting for something. Anything. That's when I heard it. Buried under the noise on the emergency civilian band. A voice. Male. Calm. Midwestern accent. He was reading a list of counties and giving signal reports. Said they'd established contact with a facility outside Omaha. Said they were tracking auroral strength, field flux, and core line integrity. I wrote it down. Every word. Core line integrity. I don't even know what that means. Then he said something else. This was predicted. We just didn't want to believe it. I haven't heard him again since. Yesterday, I walked to the edge of town. No cars on the roads anymore. Even the Teslas are dead. Screens flicker and die when you try to boot them, like something's rotting inside the circuits. I passed the gas station near the I-26 junction. Empty. Shelves picked clean. No ice, no cold drinks. Just a sticky, humming silence and the faint smell of melted plastic. Someone spray-painted, "It's not coming back," across the front window. I don't know if they meant the power or something else. I found a man there, sitting on the ground beside an upturned cooler. He was holding a pocket radio in his hands, twisting the dial like a rosary. He didn't even look up when I approached. He just said, I thought we'd be smarter than this." I didn't know what to say. I still don't. For anyone listening, if you're near Columbia, there's a farmer's market that's turned into a supply point. They're taking dry goods in trade. No cash, no cards. One guy said they've got old CB radios rigged to run off windmill batteries. I haven't confirmed that, but if you've got wheels or legs, it's worth a shot. Bring water, bring salt, bring anything that doesn't spoil. They've got a board there where people are leaving notes, looking for relatives, posting sightings, asking for meds. If you have insulin, guard it. If you need it, don't wait. I tried to reach the nearest hospital today, St. Mark's. Walked 5 miles in the heat. They've got tents out front, no lights inside. They're running on manual everything, no ventilators, no elevators. The ER has been converted into a triage bay lit by oil lamps. The nurse I spoke to had been awake for 2 days. Said they're using hand fans and soaked cloths to keep fevers down. Said they lost 3 patients last night. 1 heat stroke, 2 heart attacks. Said if the morgue gets any fuller, they're going to start burying people behind the maintenance lot. She gave me a piece of advice I want to pass on. Don't wait for the cavalry. It's not coming. Learn how to cool your house with towels and buckets. Boil water in coffee cans. Burn trash away from your home, not in it. And if you see the sky light up again, brighter than before, stay underground. That was all she had the strength to say before walking off to the next gurney. I'm going to take a short break to cool the transmitter. I'll come back in 10 minutes, assuming the battery holds. If you're out there, keep listening. And if you're not, I'll keep talking anyway. It's 1:14 a.m. The temperature is still holding at 101 degrees. I've got all the windows cracked open, trying to bleed out the heat, but it's like sitting inside a convection oven. The air outside smells like burnt rubber and pine sap. I don't know if it's wildfires or overheated power lines, maybe both. The sky's got that dull orange glow you usually only see on the edge of a forest fire. No stars tonight, no clouds either, just haze. I promised I'd keep talking. So here I am. I want to tell you about the silence. Not the kind you get in a quiet town late at night. No traffic, no bars open, just the sound of bugs and the hum of distant crickets. No, I mean the kind of silence that feels wrong, like something's been removed. There's no hum from the fridge anymore, no hum from the power lines. No low rumble of trucks on the highway. Even the birds have gone quiet. It's like the world took a breath and forgot to let it out. I stood on my roof earlier tonight, looking toward the southern tree line. Couldn't see much, but I could feel the heat rising off the ground like waves. A man, Jared, I think his name was, came walking up the road from the direction of the old train yard. He looked half melted, shirt soaked through, had a car battery slung across his back and a toolbox in one hand. He told me he'd been trying to keep his dad's oxygen machine running. Said his dad was ex-military, lived through 3 tours, but it's a solar flare that's probably going to kill him. Jared's been dragging car batteries between neighborhood houses looking for enough juice to keep the machine humming. But the batteries are dying faster now. Heat's draining everything. Before he left, I asked if he'd seen any open roads. He just shook his head and said, "The traffic's not moving anymore. It's rusting." Think about that. Cars that stopped running 5 days ago. Metal frames baking in the sun. Fluids evaporating. Electronics cooked from the inside out. The ones that aren't stripped are just ghost shells now. I got a call earlier tonight. The line's barely functional, but it came through. A girl. Young voice. Maybe 15, 16. Said her name was Elena. She's in Lexington. Said she was listening on an old shortwave her uncle found in a drawer. She asked if it was okay to be scared. I told her yes. She asked if it was the end of the world. I told her I didn't know. She asked me to stay on the air as long as I could because her mom was starting to cry more than she talks, and her little brother kept asking when the lights were coming back. That one hit hard. If you're still listening, Elena, hang in there. I don't know how this ends either, but I'm not going to disappear. Not while I can still speak into this mic and feed a signal out to whoever's left on the other end. Now. I want to go back to what started this. 2 nights ago, I picked up a burst transmission on the old NOAA emergency band. Just static at first. Then a voice came through. Garbled. Maybe military, maybe someone with a backup satellite phone. The only clear part said this. Projected duration of solar storm, indefinite. Coronal discharge exceeds Carrington class levels. All satellite operations deemed non-recoverable. Power grid restoration expected to require full transformer replacement. Estimated time, months to years. Carrington class. For those of you who haven't heard that before, it's a reference to an event from 1859. A massive solar storm that hit Earth like a cosmic freight train. Telegraph lines caught fire. Paper burst into flame inside the wires. But back then, we didn't rely on electric infrastructure the way we do now. We didn't have GPS satellites and smart grids and high-frequency banking networks and internet nodes stacked across every inch of our daily lives. If something like that hit today, this is what happens. A few of the local tech guys, before they stopped showing up, told me the satellites aren't just glitching anymore. Some of them are out of orbit. Fried gyroscopes, dead batteries. One of them said the GPS timing systems are failing, which explains the chaos in the financial networks. You don't think about it, but every banking transaction, every trading algorithm, every ATM relies on perfect time stamping. Without that, transactions go out of sync. Markets go blind. Assets vanish in a fog of confusion. I tried checking my bank balance yesterday. Old reflex. The ATM screen booted up, then died. Just a blank blue error screen. The grocery store I passed had a sign scrawled in marker. No system, cash, or trade only. The cash register was a shoebox. There was a woman standing outside with a stack of canned peaches and a sign that said, "Will trade for baby formula." Let that sit with you for a second. I want to shift gears. Let's talk about survival. If you're hearing this, here's what you need to do tonight. Water. If you haven't already filled your bathtub, your sinks, or any large container, do it now. If the pumps haven't failed in your area yet, they will. Once the pressure drops, your faucets will turn to air. Collect rainwater if you can. Cover it. Keep it off the ground. Filter it with charcoal if you have it. Boil it when you can. Heat. Avoid it. Sleep in basements or crawl spaces. Open windows on the shaded side of the house, not the sun-facing ones. Stay off asphalt. Blacktop holds heat like a grudge. Wet a shirt, drape it over your head. Use towels. Move at night if you have to move. Food. Non-perishables only. If you have to cook, cook in the morning or after sundown. Fire draws attention and raises your core temperature. Ration everything. This isn't going to be over soon. Light. Use candles sparingly. LEDs are better if you've got batteries to spare. But conserve them. Think in weeks, not days. Community. Talk to your neighbors. Not everyone's going to be stable right now, but some people will surprise you. A kid with a chemistry set might know how to build a battery. That grumpy man down the road might be an ex-electrician. Get together. Pool your skills. You can't survive this alone for long. I'm going to keep updating you as long as I can. I've got 4 more batteries lined up and a small solar panel someone dropped off yesterday. God bless whoever did that. You saved me another 2 days at least. A quick story before I let this rig cool. A man showed up outside the studio yesterday. Name was Nolan. Said he used to work for the State Power Authority. We sat out back, near the propane tank, sharing a warm bottle of soda. He told me something I haven't been able to shake. He said, "This isn't the kind of thing you fix. You adapt to it. The grid's gone, maybe for years. If we don't figure out how to live without it, we're going to burn through the last of ourselves." Then he pulled a crank radio out of his bag and handed it to me. Said it didn't need batteries, just elbow grease. I've been using it to listen for signals ever since. I think it might be the only thing that works when everything else dies. Okay, I've got to cool the gear. I'll be back in 10, maybe 15, assuming nothing goes wrong. If you're still there, keep listening. If you're not, I'll keep talking anyway. It's 2:06 a.m., still over 100 degrees out there. 98 inside, even with the door open and the fan running on low from the inverter. The fan makes a grinding noise now. I think the bearings are shot. I keep it going anyway. Feels like the only thing still moving in this whole town. I've been sitting here thinking about the last time I felt cold. Not just chilly, but that deep, good cold where you pull a blanket tighter and feel safe. I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago. A thunderstorm rolled in. I remember standing on the front steps with my arms wide, getting soaked, laughing like a fool while the whole neighborhood smelled like wet dirt and pine. That kind of clean, full air feels like a dream now. Now the heat wraps around everything. The trees look brittle. The grass is dust. And every building I pass feels like it's baking from the inside out. I know people are still out there. I've gotten 3 transmissions tonight. Garbled, faint, but real. One came from someone in Mobile, Alabama. Said the coastlines flooded with people from farther inland. Families trying to get closer to what's left of a breeze. Said the power went out 4 days ago and never came back. No running water. Cell towers are gone. A few gas stations are still pumping with hand cranks, but most of the tanks are empty. Roads are blocked with cars and debris. Some people are looting. Some are just lying on sidewalks, passed out from heat exhaustion. The caller, she didn't give her name, said they're seeing auroras again. Bright, beautiful, wrong. Said they lit up the Gulf like someone left the oven door open in heaven. Another signal came in from a man outside of Topeka. Shortwave relay. Said he's got a small wind turbine on top of a barn, and he's been monitoring magnetic field activity. He used to be a physics teacher. Retired now. But he knows what he's seeing. Said the Earth's magnetic field is still unstable. Said the flux lines are looping. His word. And solar particles are still pouring in, disrupting everything. He thinks we got hit with more than one burst. Not just a flare, but a series of ejections, like punches, one after another. The big one's still out there, might still be on the way. Then he went quiet, not cut off, just silent. I don't know if he's still out there. I hope so. And then there was a boy, maybe 10 years old. His voice was shaky. He said his name was Liam. He was calling from outside of Denver. Said his dad told him to try the radio if anything happened. Said his mom was sick from the heat. Said he'd been pouring water on her head and reading books to her out loud. He didn't ask for help, He just asked if I could play a song. I told him I couldn't. All the music systems are dead. The silence that followed that moment was the hardest part of my night. I need to tell you something else. Something about the government. There's no word from the White House, no signal from FEMA, no presidential address, nothing from NORAD or the Pentagon, not on any band I can reach, not on any known frequency. But I picked up a loop earlier tonight. It was coming out of the 11-meter band, one of those oddball ranges nobody uses much anymore. Sounded automated, garbled. Then I made out the words. Do not approach federal relief convoys. Remain in place. Aid is being coordinated. That was it. Repeated every 60 seconds. No timestamp. No location. Just that. It didn't sound reassuring. It sounded like a placeholder. Like someone uploaded a contingency plan from a bunker and forgot to check if anyone was still listening. I think the people in charge, they either don't know how bad it is, or they're somewhere underground, waiting it out. Either way, they're not here. I walked past the local post office today. The flag was still up, but it was tattered. Half of it hung loose in the windless heat. There was no sound, just a scorched row of mail trucks and the faint buzz of flies. Inside the building, someone had spray painted the words, "Where are you?" I don't know. I really don't. There are people trying to organize, though. I've been keeping track of them. Some towns are setting up analog communication hubs, chalkboards, paper drop boxes, loudspeakers hooked to car batteries, the old school stuff. I heard rumor from someone in Raleigh that an engineer named Thomas has managed to bring back a microgrid using salvaged parts and manual relays. They've got power for 2 blocks. 2 blocks might not sound like much, but when you're living in darkness, 2 blocks lit by lanterns is a damn cathedral. They're sharing food, charging radios, printing out emergency guides. This is what survival looks like now. Not bunkers, not guns and ammo. It's engineers, teachers, neighbors who remember how to fix things without screens. I talked to a woman today, Marcy, from the South Side. She used to work in a library. Now she's teaching a group of kids how to read maps, paper ones. She said they spent the first few days crying, but now they're learning to navigate by stars. One of the kids, Leo, built a compass out of a needle and a magnet. They're calling it Explorer Class. I almost cried when she told me that. Here's what I want to leave you with tonight, before I shut this rig down and give the circuits a rest. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to cry. It's okay to miss your phone and your air conditioning, and the sound of a microwave beeping when your coffee's ready. But it's not okay to give up. You're still here. And if you're hearing this, I'm still here too. Tomorrow I'll try to reach farther. I've got a spare antenna I'm planning to rig to the tower, see if I can bounce the signal off some of the upper atmosphere. Might give us another 10, 20 miles of reach, maybe more if the ionosphere's still playing nice. For now, I'm signing off for the night. Drink water. Talk to each other. Look out for anyone who's hurting. The sun will be up in a few hours, and the heat with it. Use the dark. It's the only time left that still belongs to us. It's 3:03 a.m. Temperature just dropped under 100 for the first time all day. It's 98, but it feels like more, even this late at night. No breeze, just the constant humming of heat soaked into concrete, slowly letting itself out like steam from a pressure valve. I've soaked a bandana in what's left of my drinking water and wrapped it around the back of my neck. Not ideal, but it helps a little. The station smells like wires and dust and something else. Maybe old paper baking in dry air. The backup rig's holding, but I lost one of the battery strings this afternoon. Swapped it out with the last deep cycle I had stored from the generator shed. I can keep the transmitter going for another few hours tonight. Maybe longer if the solar panel pulls enough tomorrow morning. If not, I'll ration the signal. Pulse broadcasts instead of a continuous stream. I think we're all learning the art of scarcity now. Let's talk about the sun. That's where all this started. Not a bomb, not a war, not some cyber virus cooked up in a lab or let loose by some trigger-happy defense contractor. It was the sun. Just like every other morning, it rose. And it reached out and touched everything. What came at us was a massive solar storm, a coronal mass ejection, the kind scientists warned about for decades. They said if a big one hit, it could fry satellites, cripple the grid, short out transformers. We all nodded and shrugged. It sounded like a space problem, something that happens way out there, something with charts and graphs and acronyms. But this one wasn't out there. It came here. 3 waves. That's what I've pieced together from the fragments of scientific reports still floating through the shortwave bands. The first hit us with the auroras, bright and harmless, or so we thought. A warning shot. The second wave disrupted our satellites. That's when GPS started failing, when air traffic turned to chaos and global communication stuttered. The third wave, that's the one that ended everything. It overloaded the grid. Power lines turned into antennae. Transformers fried from the inside out. Some exploded. A guy in Charleston said he saw a substation blow like a car bomb, metal shrapnel raining down on the street like fireworks. But here's the worst part. It's still happening. The sun's still active. The magnetic storms haven't let up. Solar wind is still hammering the atmosphere. The Earth's magnetic shield, our defense against cosmic radiation, is bruised and thinning in spots. One scientist said it like this: "The shield's full of holes and the sun keeps throwing spears." I know. It sounds like doomsday poetry, but it's real. It's why every time I look up now, the stars shimmer wrong. It's why the sky has that color to it, too rich, too unstable. The atmosphere's different now, more alive, but also more unpredictable. I caught a faint broadcast out of Toronto earlier. A man with a calm voice reading off numbers, locations, and then something strange. Atmospheric oxygen density readings. Why would someone be tracking that? Unless the planet's balance is shifting in ways we don't understand yet. Now, I'm no scientist. I'm just a voice with a radio rig and a stubborn streak. But I've lived long enough to know that when the world starts making noise in frequencies we've never heard, we better start paying attention. Earlier tonight I heard from Darius in Wichita. He used to work for a telecom company. Said the fiber networks are cooked, literally melted in some places. He tried to dig up one of the old trunk lines and found a black, brittle mess where insulated wire used to be. No signal, no chance of repair, not without a factory and 1,000 trained workers. He's building a repeater tower out of scrap metal and bicycle parts. He says it won't do much, but it might help someone hear his voice across the plains. He called it "My Last Shout into the Dark." That stuck with me. Someone else, a nurse from Baton Rouge named Rita, left a voice packet. She said the hospital's overrun, not with patients, but with families. They're not asking for medicine anymore. They're just asking for air conditioning, for shade, for a place to sit where their kids won't cry from heat rash. Rita said she's been sleeping in shifts, 2 hours on, 2 hours off. They don't have electricity, but someone managed to bring in an old diesel generator. They're rationing it to keep the NICU running. Only 4 babies left on oxygen. Rita says she'll keep going until the last one is out of danger. That's what real strength looks like. And then there's silence. Most towns I hear nothing from anymore. No bounce-back signals, no reply frequencies, not even static. Just empty bands. I think some places are just gone, burned out, moved on, swallowed by heat or darkness or confusion. If you're in a small town, I urge you, gather with others. Make your block a community. Don't wait for help. Don't wait for a rescue convoy that may never come. Trade skills, not just goods. Someone knows how to fix a generator. Someone knows how to purify water. Someone has seeds. Someone remembers how to build a well crank. You don't need the grid. You need each other. Let me give you a short survival rundown based on what I've learned from survivors, field engineers, and my own broken hands over the last 6 days. Keep electronics in metal boxes. Any box, as long as it's grounded. Wrap radios in foil when not in use. Solar flares are still throwing radiation bursts. A simple shielding trick can keep your tech alive. Cool your space with wet towels over open windows. Drape damp sheets in front of doors. Water evaporation pulls heat away. It works better than you think. Stay hydrated. Forget the soda, the sports drinks. Water, and more water. You can survive 3 weeks without food. You won't last 3 days without water. Eat small, salty things. Crackers, jerky, nuts. They'll keep your electrolytes up. The heat will drain you faster than you expect. Don't light fires inside unless you have a chimney. Carbon monoxide will kill you faster than the heat will. A man in Asheville died trying to boil water in a closed room. If you're in a city, leave. Cities are failing. The cooling systems are gone. Sewers are backing up. Supplies vanish in hours. Tensions are rising. I saw something strange yesterday. A line of people walking north on Highway 21. Maybe 50 of them. Pushing carts, pulling wagons, carrying packs. No cars. Just a slow, steady march. They didn't wave, didn't speak. Just moved like they had a place to be. One of them, a woman with a backpack covered in foil, looked me in the eye as they passed. She said, "It's cooler up north." That's all. It chilled me more than the heat ever could. I'm going to pause the broadcast here. The battery's getting low, and I need to swap over to the solar backup. I'll be back soon. Keep your radios on. Even if you don't hear anything right away, sometimes the signal needs time to find its way through the noise. It's 4:07 a.m. The air inside's still thick and sour, like breathing through a warm sponge. I've opened the loading bay door behind the station, propped it with a folding chair, and hung a tarp to keep the mosquitoes out. Doesn't help the heat, but it lets me feel like I'm not completely sealed inside a coffin. Something about 4 a.m. feels more hollow than the rest of the night. It's past late. Not quite morning. The hour when sleep used to mean something, and staying awake starts to feel like a curse. You're still listening? Then I'll keep going. I've been thinking about the first time I really felt it, that this wasn't just a power outage or some freak solar event that would pass in a few hours or days. The moment it clicked, it was 3 nights ago. I was walking back from a house 3 blocks down. They had an old wind-up flashlight I was borrowing to test one of the relay antennas on the roof, just trying to get one more 10-mile signal hop. I passed by the gas station on Main, the one that used to run 24 hours back when that meant something. Place was dark, windows smashed. Someone had scrawled, "No power, no gas, no help," on the glass in thick red paint. Or maybe blood. I don't know, it doesn't matter. But inside was a sound, a whirring, short and rhythmic. I thought maybe someone had managed to hook up a generator. Maybe the freezer was working. Maybe they were running cold storage. It gave me this small, stupid flicker of hope. So I climbed in through the broken side door. And there, in the back corner of the store, was an old display fridge. One of those ones with a rotating rack inside. The kind that used to hold energy drinks and plastic-wrapped sandwiches. And it was moving. Slowly. That low electric hum. The motor grinding like it had arthritis. It had just enough stored charge in its capacitor to twitch. Just a little. And all I could think was, this machine is dying. But it's trying. It's still trying. That's when I knew. We've built our world on things that were never meant to last without constant care. Satellites, fiber optics, high-frequency networks, magnetic coils and vacuum-sealed relays. All beautiful, all fragile, all gone now, or flickering out like that old fridge motor. We've got to start over, from the dirt, from memory, and from people. I've been talking to more of them lately. Survivors, drifters, the ones still walking. A woman named Arlene called in an hour ago. She's 72, lives in a trailer park on the edge of Sumter. She said the heat melted the vinyl skirting around her home, and she's been sleeping on the floor with bags of ice she buys from a man who drives in with a cooler every 2 days. She said, "I've outlived 3 husbands and 6 hurricanes. I'm not dying because the sun got angry." She's got a hand pump well and a porch full of potted tomatoes. She's running a swap shelf out of an old bookshelf. Leave something, take something. Said she left a carton of matches and picked up a paperback copy of A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. People like her are how we make it. Another call came from a trucker named Jonah. He was hauling a refrigerated trailer full of insulin and medical supplies when the grid collapsed. Said the cooling unit died fast, and he didn't want to waste it, so he started driving town to town, handing it out before it spoiled. Said he doesn't know how long he'll last, since diesel's running dry, but he's going to keep moving until the wheels lock up. He said, "If we don't choose who we are right now, something else will choose for us." I wrote that down. The darkness isn't the worst part. It's not knowing who we become when the lights go out. I got a shortwave bounce earlier from a repeater near the Great Lakes. Broken French and English mixed. Sounded like they were coordinating something. A convoy. Maybe relief. Maybe migration. I couldn't make out the names. The signal was distorted. But the tone, it didn't sound panicked. It sounded organized. I don't want to give false hope, but if that signal was real, then somebody out there still has a plan. And that's something. Here in town, things are changing too. Yesterday I passed the elementary school gym, the one with the cracked asphalt basketball court and the broken water fountains. The front doors were wide open, and someone had hung bed sheets across the windows to keep out the sun. Inside, it was a relief center. Not official, not organized, just human. There were maybe 30 people inside, some sleeping, some sharing soup from a giant metal pot, one old guy playing harmonica in the corner. A whiteboard near the front door had a list. MEDS water, diapers, batteries, blankets. At the bottom, someone had drawn a crooked sun with an X through it. It wasn't a place of despair. It felt like a pulse. I asked if I could leave a note. So I wrote, "Signal still up. 90.5 FM. talking as long as I can. The voice in the dark. They smiled. No one asked for a name. I didn't offer one. Maybe it's better that way. I don't know how long I'll stay here. This station was built to last, but only for a world that had repair trucks and spare parts. I can patch, solder, swap batteries, but one blown fuse in the main inverter and it's over. But while I've got it, I'm going to keep going. Keep sharing your voices. Keep telling you what I see. Keep giving this invisible thread something to hang on to. If you're still listening, and God, I hope you are, take a deep breath. You made it through another day, another night, another piece of this unraveling world. That matters. I'll be back in an hour. Signal willing. Stay in the shade, stay hydrated, stay kind. It's 5:18 a.m., still 95 degrees. The heat doesn't sleep anymore. I stepped outside for a few minutes just now. The air tasted like old copper and ash. There's a haze crawling low across the field behind the station, somewhere between fog and smoke. You can't see the stars anymore. You can't hear the bugs. It's just quiet, like the earth's waiting for something to finish dying. I spotted a deer earlier, alone, limping. Its ribs were visible through its side. It wandered through the empty parking lot and stood by a downed power line like it was waiting for something to start humming again. When it didn't, it moved on. I watched it disappear between the shells of two rusting cars. Even the animals are confused. I keep thinking about the people who vanished when the grid collapsed. Not dead, just gone. The ones who lived through the first couple days said they were heading for the mountains, or the coast, or a family farm they hadn't seen since childhood. No word since, no signals, no signs. Maybe they're still out there. Maybe they found water. Maybe they're building something. But I can't shake this image of them standing alone on back roads, holding radios that only whisper static. I got another shortwave message about 30 minutes ago. Weak, but there. It was from a group calling themselves The Lattice. They're in the Upper Peninsula, I think, Michigan, or maybe Canada. They said they're building a communications ring using analog gear, old ham radios, patch cables, car batteries, anything that still hums. They're collecting stories, logging locations, trying to build a live map of who's left. They said the name Lattice came from the idea that even when the structure falls, the frame can still hold. I like that. They asked for reports, so I sent them one. Told them about the grid failure down here, about the fried transformers, the bank outages, the auroras, the kids reading maps under candlelight, the woman trading tomatoes for matches. I told them about the man with the insulin truck and the girl in Lexington who just wanted to hear a song. They said they'd log it all. Then the signal dropped. Even out here, even now, someone is still trying to make a record. So if this transmission reaches anyone, anywhere, know that your voice matters, even if it's only heard once, by one person, on one busted radio. It still matters. Earlier tonight, I saw lightning over the hills. Not the usual kind. It didn't flicker, it strobed. Bright, electric pulses, like the sky was trying to reboot. But no thunder followed. Just light, cold and clean and wrong. I don't know what that means. I've heard theories. One man, Cal from Amarillo, left a recorded message yesterday. Said he used to work in atmospheric sciences. He believes the solar flares are altering upper atmosphere chemistry. Said we might start seeing more high-altitude discharges, unconnected lightning, plasma arcs. Said the magnetosphere's weakened, and without that blanket, The weather might not follow old rules anymore. He sounded tired, scared, but focused. He ended his message like this: "If the air starts to smell metallic and your skin tingles, get low. Find concrete, cover your electronics, and don't look at the sky." That last part stayed with me. Don't look at the sky. There's a superstition forming around that now. I've heard it from people in at least 4 different towns. They say the sky is different, that there's something in it, watching maybe, or waiting. I don't believe in myths, but I do believe in pattern recognition, and when enough people across enough distances start saying the same thing, I take notice. I want to talk to you about children. There are still kids out here. I've seen them. Barefoot, sunburned, wide-eyed, watching everything, not talking much. Some of them seem fine, resilient in ways adults forgot how to be. But some are staring off into nothing, like the lights went out inside too. If you're in a community, start teaching them again. Anything. Doesn't matter what. Teach them how to boil water, how to read the sky, how to draw maps, or sew, or tell time using a stick and the sun. Make them feel useful. Make them feel needed. If we don't pass something down, this doesn't just become a disaster. It becomes a reset, and not the kind we come back from. This afternoon, I saw someone burning textbooks behind the high school. Math books mostly. Old ones. Maybe they thought they were dead weight. Or maybe they just needed something to cook with. Either way, it hurt. Those books mattered. We need knowledge now more than ever. Not digital. Not stored on servers that don't hum anymore. But printed. Physical. Things we can hold, pass down, protect. If you have books, hide them. Guard them like food. Because when the dust settles, they'll be worth more than gold. I don't know how much longer this signal will hold. The last battery's running low. The inverter fan is clicking again. But I'll squeeze every last watt out of this thing before I stop talking. Let me leave you with this. If you're in a city and the power's been out more than 4 days, start thinking about relocation. If your food is low, don't wait until it's gone. If you've seen auroras 2 nights in a row, keep your electronics wrapped during the day. If your tap water has stopped running, find someone who knows where the old wells are. And if you still have someone beside you, talk to them. Hold them. Even if it's just for a minute. None of us are okay, but we're not alone either. You're still alive. That's not nothing. I'll be back at sunrise, or as close to it as I can get. Until then, breathe slow. Sleep in shifts. Watch the sky, but not too long. This is the voice in the dark. Still here. Still talking. It's 6:10 a.m. The sun's starting to rise, or trying to. It's not like it used to be. The light comes in sideways now, thick and strange, like it's bleeding through dirty glass. The sky's got a yellow tint around the edges. Not warm. Sickly. Like the air's been bruised. Temperature's back up to 100 already. Just past dawn. It's hard to remember what normal mornings felt like. Waking up with cold floors, hot coffee, birds arguing in the trees. Now it's just heat and stillness, and the low groan of a world running on scraps. I didn't sleep. Not last night. Not the night before. I laid on the floor with a wet shirt over my chest, trying to count how many days it's been since I felt real wind on my face. Since I felt safe. Couldn't remember. I've got good news this time, though. Something rare. The solar rig I patched up yesterday finally caught enough charge to bring the backup receiver back online. Just a small bump, maybe 5 extra miles of signal range. But it's something. And with it, I picked up a voice I haven't heard in 5 days. Her name's Carrie. She's based outside Chattanooga, working out of an old fire station with 2 others, Thomas and Raina. They've got a functioning generator, some scavenged solar panels, and a crank start transmitter. She said they're calling their location Station 7. Doesn't mean anything official, just something to remind them they're not the only signal left. Carrie sounded tired but steady. Said they've taken in 17 people in the last 72 hours. 2 are in rough shape, heat stroke and a diabetic crash, but they're stable for now. They've got coolers buried 6 feet underground with ice packs layered between blankets. They call it the fridge. They're doing triage, food sharing, even started building a passive airflow cooling system using big clay pipes. I've seen diagrams for that before. Ancient desert tech. Clay pulls the heat out of the air as it moves through the tube. Simple, elegant, life-saving. Station 7 is a miracle. Not a solution, not a fix, but a spark. She asked me to spread the word, so if you're anywhere near Chattanooga, Tennessee, South Side, look for the old fire station off McGowan Road. Painted red doors, half burned. They've hung a sheet from the 2nd floor with a sun crossed out in black marker. It means the doors are open. Bring water if you can. Bring stories. They're collecting those too. She said, history's being written by battery-powered radios and the people who refuse to shut up. I told her I'd pass that on. Let me shift now to something harder. I got a transmission early this morning, before sunrise, from somewhere near the Texas-New Mexico border. A man named Miguel. He didn't give a city. Just said he was near a dry riverbed, west of I-27. He sounded out of breath. I think he was hiding, maybe running. He said towns are starting to fracture. In some places, folks are working together. In others, not so much. There are groups forming. He called them flares. People who believe the sun is trying to purify the earth, that the light is sacred, that the old world was broken, and this is a correction. They're burning books, smashing radios, preaching silence, wearing mirrors strapped to their faces, walking barefoot through streets chanting prayers to the sky. Miguel said he saw one of them light a water truck on fire because it smelled of the past. I don't know what to make of it. Not exactly cult, not exactly militia, but they're spreading. Belief travels faster than heat. That's always been true. If you encounter them, stay quiet. Avoid direct contact. Move after dark. Do not try to argue. It won't work. They don't want answers. They want submission. I've seen it before. After hurricanes, after wildfires. People crave control when everything else slips away. Sometimes that means helping. Sometimes it means hurting. This time, it seems to mean both. I wish I could tell you there's an end in sight. That this flare, the solar storm, not the people, was going to pass. But the experts I've heard, the scientists still whispering across dying channels, say otherwise. One of them, a woman named Dr. Sumner from a university I never caught, left a series of bursts on the science band. She said the solar flux is cyclical, but this spike, unprecedented. She said the Earth's orbit passed through a particularly dense field of plasma ejected from a sunspot cluster twice the size of Jupiter. Said the field was still active, still pulsing. Said the next wave could arrive in a week, maybe less. And if it's stronger than the last one, then we may lose even more than we already have. She ended her message with this. Protect your analog systems. Wrap your radios. Print everything. Ink lasts longer than memory. I've started writing everything down by hand. I've got a notebook now, just a spiral pad with a torn cover and soft pages. Every person who calls in, every name, every story, I write it down, just in case the transmitter fails, just in case my voice disappears. Maybe someone will find it someday. Maybe it'll matter. Maybe it won't, but I'll keep writing anyway. One more thing. Last night I took a walk. No reason. Just couldn't sit still anymore. The town was silent, too quiet. No generators, no voices. Just the buzz of insects and the soft crunch of dust under my boots. Then I heard music. Faint. Old. Warbly. I followed it to a porch on Cedar Street. There, sitting under a wind chime made from bottle caps and cutlery, was a man in his 70s, cranking an old record player by hand. The record was scratched. The voice on it broke and bent. But it was there. It was Johnny Cash, singing about storms and redemption and keeping on. The man didn't speak. He just nodded once as I stood there. Then he went back to winding the crank. I stood there with him. For 10 minutes. Maybe more. It was the most human thing I've felt in days. We are still here. Remember that. I'll be back after sunup. If the inverter holds. If the heat doesn't kill the line. Until then, hold fast. Drink water. Sleep if you can. Think clear. And if you see the auroras tonight, don't stare too long. They're beautiful, but they don't care. This is the voice in the dark. Still breathing, still burning, still talking. It's 7:12 a.m. The sun is fully up now, but it doesn't feel like morning. It feels like standing in front of an open oven, the kind of heat that makes you squint even when your eyes are shut, the kind that wraps around your legs and crawls up your back. There's no wind, no relief, just a stillness that doesn't belong. Temperature reads 106 degrees outside. The shadows are short and sharp. Everything looks too clear, too defined. The light is harsher now. It doesn't bend the way it used to, like it's been sharpened. I've seen plastic siding on houses curl up like paper, mailboxes warping, asphalt softening, and people moving slower. I passed a group of them this morning, 3 kids and 2 adults pushing a wagon filled with empty water jugs. They were headed toward the reservoir. I didn't say anything, didn't want to scare them, but the reservoir's dry. I saw it yesterday. Nothing but cracked mud and a few fish bones picked clean. God, I hope they turn back in time. The solar rig gave me just enough juice to get back on the air this hour. I've got a backup panel set up with a mirror to catch more morning light, but it's not much. The batteries are draining faster now. I think the heat's starting to warp the casings. I wrapped them in towels and doused them with water, trying to buy myself another day. This place wasn't built for 100-degree nights and 110-degree mornings. None of us were. I need to correct something from earlier. That repeater message I picked up last night from the group calling themselves The Lattice. I heard it again, clearer this time. They're not just logging survivor locations. They're trying to triangulate safe zones, areas with working shade, steady water, functioning shortwave gear, places that can receive transmissions and, if needed, send them out again. Right now, their map has 5 solid points. A small farming co-op west of Duluth, a converted high school gymnasium in Flagstaff, an underground parking structure in Dayton with 2 solar banks and 6 wind turbines, a former tech warehouse in Idaho Falls, full of backup batteries and an old Tesla Powerwall grid they somehow rigged to take DC instead of AC. And the fire station in Chattanooga I mentioned earlier, Station 7. If you're near any of those, or can safely move toward them, they're actively listening. Broadcast on shortwave 27.395 MHz in 15-second bursts every hour, on the hour. Use code format, location, need, head count. Like this. Mobile, Alabama, water plus med, 6 adults, 3 kids. Keep it short. Keep it clear. Repeat 3 times. Someone will hear you. I got a call this morning. More like a scratchy buzz that became a voice after I tuned the band just right. Her name was Denise. Said she was in Oakland, California. Living in the basement of an apartment complex with 12 others. No power, no water, just candles and a box fan hooked to a bicycle crank. Said they were rigging up a pulley system to lift supplies from the street without going outside. They've blocked the windows, covered the vents. Temperatures inside are topping 95, even in the dark. People are starting to hallucinate. She said something I can't stop thinking about. It's like we're buried alive, but still breathing. Denise, if you're hearing this, you're not alone. If you can, reach out to the lattice. You're in their listening range. I checked. Your location could save others. And now, for something unexpected. There's a man in Missouri named Bobby. He's a mechanic by trade. Lives in a one-room shed behind what used to be a diner. 2 years ago, he bought a used wind turbine off Craigslist as a joke. Said he wanted to go off-grid in case the power bill hit triple digits. Guess who's running the only functioning water pump in a 15-mile radius now? Bobby says the turbine still works because it was analog controlled. No smart tech, no remote sensors. Just gears and copper and grit. He's hooked it to an old well pump, and now he's drawing up water a gallon at a time. Lines are forming. People bringing pots, tubs, buckets. He's rationing fairly. No violence, no hoarding. He ends every water handoff with a smile and the same sentence. Water wants to be shared. People like Bobby are why we've made it this far. I don't think this is the end of the world. I think this is the slow motion gutting of everything we forgot to build for. We built fast, smart, efficient. But we didn't build tough. We didn't build human. And now, we're learning. Let me give you a few more hard-earned tips before this broadcast cuts out. If you can find clay pots, big ones, you can store water underground with minimal heat loss. Bury them. Wrap them in soaked cloth. Shade them with scrap metal. Solar ovens can be made with tin foil and cardboard. You don't need fire to cook. Just time. If you've got charcoal, crush it. Use it as a filter. Mix it with sand and gravel in a bottle. Pour water through slowly. It won't catch everything, but it's better than nothing. Don't drink standing water. Look for running water if you can, and if it smells like iron, walk away. Bleach, unscented, plain, is still gold. 8 drops per gallon. Shake and wait 30 minutes. If you're in a group, keep a schedule. Even if it's just 2 of you. 1 sleeps, 1 watches, then switch. Don't argue when it's your turn. Don't sleep at the same time. I don't care how tired you are. That's how people vanish. And lastly, sing. I don't care what. A hymn, a lullaby, a song you heard on the radio 10 years ago. Sing at night. Sing in the dark. Sing like someone's listening, even if you're alone. Sound carries farther than fear. I'll be back when the sun is high, maybe with new names, maybe with another safe zone, maybe just with breath. Until then, wrap your radios, stay low, share what you can, and don't forget to look people in the eye when you pass them. It reminds us we're still human. This is the voice in the dark, fading for now, not gone. It's 8:21 a.m. Temperatures hit 112 degrees. Inside the station, it's hovering around 105. I can feel the sweat running down my back, soaking into my shirt, then evaporating before I even notice. The desk under my arms is warm. Wood doesn't usually hold heat, but now everything does. Everything is hot. Radios, cords, air, breath, thoughts. I've propped open both doors, hung a sheet across the west-facing window, and poured what little water I had over the concrete floor to try and cool it. It steamed for a minute, then dried completely. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel it. The exhaustion, the dry ache behind my eyes, the static in my head. I keep having moments where I forget what I'm saying while I'm saying it. I've written down every name, every note, every message, just in case I pass out mid-sentence. But I'm still here, and I'm not alone. I heard from a man named Martin in Kansas City. He found an old civil defense shelter under an abandoned municipal building. Said it was dusty and full of cobwebs, but intact. Thick walls, old beds, a few canisters of water purifiers from the Cold War era. He and 4 others have cleaned it out, set up candles, hung maps, rewired a crank phone into a radio receiver. They're calling it the cellar. Martin's voice shook when he described the quiet. Set above ground, the city sounds like it's holding its breath. No traffic, no sirens, no voices. Just the occasional bang of something falling in the heat. Pipes bursting, maybe. Metal splitting. He said the roads are littered with melted plastic and soft shoes stuck in tar like fossils. They've got a system now. Every morning, they climb to the roof of the courthouse across the street with a mirror and signal in Morse. 3 long flashes, 2 short, standard survivor code. They're hoping someone sees it. I told him I'd pass it on. If you're near Kansas City, and you see those flashes, they're not a trick. They're real people. South of there, I got another report from a woman named Joy in Tulsa. She's alone now. Her words, not mine. She was with 6 others, but 2 died from dehydration, and 3 more walked off in the night, chasing a rumor about a FEMA camp still running near Dallas. That was 2 days ago. No sign since. Joy's got a setup, though. A basement filled with canned food, a hand-dug latrine, and an old-school AM/FM tower she inherited from her father. He was a broadcast technician back in the 80s. She found the schematics, rewired the breaker manually, and now she's transmitting in 30-minute bursts every morning and night. I caught her on a loop this morning. If you're listening, I'm still here. If you need help, I have food. If you have medicine, I'll trade. If you have a story, I'll listen. We are not finished. I'm going to start echoing that. Every few hours, her words. Simple. Real. Because that's what this is about now. Not just staying alive, but staying human. Speaking of stories, I've got one for you. There's a small town east of here, Briar Creek. Population, maybe 300 before the collapse. Maybe half that now. They've done something incredible. They shut off every device that still works. Everything. Radios, phones, even old light bulbs. They call it dark running. They realized the electronics that survive, radios especially, seem to attract attention. Not just from flares or desperate people, but from something else. They couldn't describe it exactly. Just said that whenever a device hums too long, something finds it. So now, they keep a rotating window, 10 minutes every hour, where one transmitter sends out their status. Otherwise, silence. They write things down, pass notes, use flags and signal mirrors. At night, they light nothing but oil lamps buried in sandboxes to keep the glow low. They've wrapped their windows in aluminum foil and blankets, covered their roofs in mud to deflect heat. They've dug a communal trench garden where condensation collects in the early mornings, feeding vines that are already starting to flower. I heard all of this from a boy named Tyler, 12 years old, spoke into a microphone like he was reading scripture. Calm, director. He ended his message with this: "We're not fighting the sun. We're adapting. We're not waiting for the past. We're building a new kind of now." I didn't know what to say. Just wrote it down. Underlined it. A new kind of now. We have to talk about medicine. Hospitals are mostly gone. Not destroyed. Just empty. The backup generators failed. The staff either died, fled, or stayed until they couldn't anymore. But medicine, actual medicine, is still out there. Sitting on shelves, locked in pharmacies, packed inside distribution trucks that never made their drop-offs. If you're healthy and mobile, and you know what you're doing, gather it, protect it, don't hoard, organize. Find anyone with medical training, nurses, EMTs, paramedics, even vet techs. They're more valuable than any food hoard or fuel stash. I spoke to a woman named Etta outside of Richmond. She was a surgical nurse for 22 years. She set up a mobile clinic inside a school bus that runs on modified cooking oil. She moves in circles, stopping in small towns for 24-hour windows, then moving on. She has no power tools. She uses scalpels and boiled instruments and alcohol wipes. But she's saved 3 people from septic shock, delivered a baby, treated a gunshot wound. She said, "The hardest part isn't the lack of equipment. It's the loneliness. People are afraid to trust each other. But without trust, we don't make it." That's the truth. It's not about the sun. Not really. Or the power. Or the heat. It's about us. How we choose to act when no one's watching. How we rebuild something that can't be powered down. I don't know how much longer I've got on this inverter. The fan just started clicking again. That's usually a bad sign. But I've got enough charge for one last segment before I shut down for the afternoon. So if you're still out there, stay in the shade, breathe slow, share water, sleep in shifts, signal in silence, write things down, tell stories, trade what you have. Remember who you were and decide who you want to be now. This is the voice in the dark, still alive, still stubborn, still here. It's 9:34 a.m. Outside, it's 117 degrees. The air feels like it's pressing down on your shoulders, crawling up your neck, trying to pull your thoughts out through your skin. I haven't stepped outside in over an hour. The sun hits different now. It's not light. It's weight. I've sealed the north door with duct tape and a wet blanket. The inverter's holding, barely. I've rotated in the last solar battery, the one that ran hot yesterday. Might only give me 45 more minutes of airwave time, so I'm making it count. Someone's got to. I need to start with this. I got confirmation. The second flare wave hit last night. Not everyone noticed. Some people just saw the sky glow pink and green again and went back to sleep, thinking it was a leftover light show. But it wasn't. This one hit harder. It didn't light up the sky. It pushed into it. A pulse. That's what a man named Blake in Salt Lake City called it. A magnetic punch. He was standing outside with a hand-crank radio when it happened. He said the streetlights, which were already dead, flashed for a second. Just once. Like something trying to come back to life, then changing its mind. Then his ears popped. Then his radio died. Blake managed to get it running again, hours later. Said it smelled like burnt plastic, but the crank still worked. That's how he got his message to me. Said the air was full of dust. Said his skin tingled for an hour afterward. That's not nothing. If the solar burst was strong enough to pulse dead electronics, we're looking at geomagnetic instability worse than anyone expected. Maybe the core lines, those invisible currents that link the Earth's magnetic field, are shifting. Maybe we're sliding into a slow magnetic reversal. Maybe the sun just doesn't care about human timelines. Doesn't matter. The world we knew? That's gone, burned, glitched, unplugged. So now we build something else. I heard from an old truck driver named Lenny in Montana. He's turned his rig into a moving shelter, ripped out the refrigeration unit, lined the inside with ceramic tile, packs snowmelt in coolers and drives between towns handing out water jugs and maps. He calls his truck the Shade. Says the trick isn't to beat the sun, it's to dance around it. Lenny's got a shortwave rig wired into the dash, with a fan from an old computer tower blowing across the transmitter to keep it cool. He says he only broadcasts while moving, never parked. Too many signals dying in static lately. Too many messages going unanswered. Motion keeps him hopeful. His message was simple. Don't anchor your life to a place. Anchor it to people. They're the only thing that doesn't melt. I've been thinking about that. We used to talk about roots, homes, settling. Now it's about fluidity, about movement, about knowing when to stay and when to go. That's survival now. Got a ping from the lattice again. Short burst on the low band. They've added 2 more safe zones to their map. A shipping yard outside St. Louis, with cold storage still working on independent diesel lines. A vineyard in Northern California using underground cellars and wind ventilation to maintain livable temperatures. They're still logging coordinates. Still triangulating. Still alive. They said there's a theory spreading through their network now that the Earth's upper atmosphere has been chemically altered by the flares, that certain regions are becoming semi-permanently magnetized, that localized auroras are now possible at any latitude, which means if you see lights in the sky during the day, or patterns you can't explain, get inside. Not because they're dangerous directly, but because the burst that caused them probably is. Someone else, maybe from Arizona, left a garbled voice memo. Couldn't catch the name. All I heard clearly was, the sun isn't setting like it used to. And I know what they mean. It used to dip below the horizon, slow, warm, familiar. Now it just falls, like a hammer, and the dark that follows isn't cool or quiet. It's just less hot. Here's something strange. The bugs are gone. Used to be, around this hour, even in summer, you'd hear cicadas, crickets, something. But now, nothing. Total silence, like nature itself is holding its breath. I saw a dog yesterday. Stray. Fur matted. Tongue dragging. It walked into the middle of the street and laid down on the painted line like it was waiting for something. We're all waiting for something now. But I think it's time we stop. Time we act. Time we build. A man named Raymond in Kentucky built a heat shelter out of an old root cellar and 50 bags of sand. Said he used to work construction. knew about passive cooling. He dug out the vents, added reflective panels, and planted a row of vines along the front to block the direct sun. Now he's housing 7 people. They sleep in shifts, take turns watching the garden, and ration the battery charge from a pair of old RV panels he found at a junkyard. Raymond said, "We're not just surviving, we're practicing for something else." I asked what that meant. He said, "The future, whatever shape it takes." I think he's right. I've got about 10 minutes of charge left before I need to shut the rig down again. So let me say this. If you're still alive, still listening, still moving, still breathing, that's enough. If you're building something, keep going. If you're teaching someone something, how to purify water, how to wire a solar cell, how to grow beans in a coffee can, do it again tomorrow. If you're alone, make noise. Reflect light. Hang cloth from high places. Someone will see it. And if you're with others, look them in the eye. Talk about what you miss and what you don't. Let this be the start of a world that remembers how fragile everything was and chooses to build it better. This is the voice in the dark, still here, still watching the sky, still writing it all down. I'll be back when the batteries cool, or when the sky turns again. Until then, shade your walls, wrap your wires, trust no rumors, share what doesn't rot, and above all, don't let the silence tell you you're alone. You're not. It's 10:45 a.m. Outside, 121 degrees in the sun. Even the thermometer on the porch gave up. It's stuck. Just reads HI now. I stepped out for 5 minutes earlier, and it was like walking into an open kiln, the kind that bakes things down to ash. My boots stuck to the asphalt. Literally. I had to peel them off with my hands when I got back inside. The soles are starting to melt at the edges. Inside here, it's 108. No breeze, just thick, stale air and the quiet creak of old drywall expanding. The last of my backup power is draining fast. I rerouted the solar charge to the fridge rig for 10 minutes this morning, just enough to cool 2 jugs of water slightly. That's the new luxury now. Lukewarm water that doesn't burn your tongue. The station smells like scorched dust and sweat and whatever chemicals are in these old radio cables. I had to strip down some wiring with a box cutter earlier because the plastic sheath was melting over the ports. Everything hums and groans now, like it's not supposed to be awake during the day. I'm starting to believe that, like we've entered a part of time meant to be skipped. Heard from the lattice again. Shortwave bounce, 27.395 megahertz. Faint, but consistent. They've lost contact with their node in Houston. That makes 3 nodes down in the last 48 hours. Houston, Charlotte, and a rail yard node just south of Detroit. All dark. No signal. No distress call. No noise. Doesn't mean gone, but it doesn't mean good either. What they did confirm was this. Another CME is inbound. Coronal mass ejection. Bigger than the last. Wider spread. It's moving slower, but it's heavier. That's the word they used, heavier. A scientist named Dr. Reza from Geneva called it a sustained magnetic push with mass and memory. I don't even know what that means. But I wrote it down. She said the Earth's magnetic field is still bleeding, and this next one could punch through in places we've never seen breached before. Not just the poles. Everywhere. Everywhere. She warned about satellites, again, not just communications. weather satellites, GPS, banking nodes, thermal tracking, and the ISS, if anyone's still up there. She said if the flare hits hard enough, it could trigger microclimate collapses, localized environmental shifts, sudden wind reversals, electrical anomalies, flash ionization events. She said this isn't science fiction anymore. She said this is the sun reminding us we don't own a damn thing. I sat with that for a while. Couldn't respond. Just stared at the wall and tried not to think about how long it's been since I felt rain. Not humidity. Not steam. Actual rain. Feels like years. I got another call today. This one from a man named Eli in northern Arkansas. He didn't speak much, but what he did say hit harder than anything I've heard all week. I watched my shadow disappear. I asked him what he meant. He said he was standing outside at noon. No cover, no trees, just the field behind his house. And the sun was so directly overhead, and the light so intense, his shadow wasn't there. Not behind him, not beneath him. Gone. He said it felt like standing nowhere. Like the world forgot to register him. I didn't know what to say to that. Later, I caught a relay loop from what's left of a fire watch team out west. Colorado, maybe Utah. They're tracking spontaneous ground fires. Said the soil itself is catching sparks. Dry roots, dry air, pockets of gas seeping up from long dormant fault lines. It's not just surface heat anymore. It's underground. It's structural. One guy said, "We're cooking from the inside out." It's getting harder to separate the rumors from the real. But I've noticed something. Every rumor starts with a question. Did you hear? Have you seen? Is it true that? And every truth starts with silence. With someone taking a breath and saying, "Okay, here's what happened. So here's what happened. 2 nights ago I heard something new on the 144 band. That's an old repeater frequency, usually dead. But this was alive. Scratchy. Like someone was dialing up on a rotary line from under a mile of stone. It was a woman. Voice calm, slow. Sounded like she was speaking into a metal pipe. She said, "We're underground. 78 of us. Power is stable. Air is clean. The soil above is hot, but stable. We have food for 2 more months. We're mapping sun cycles now. Looking for rhythm." Then the signal cut out. No call sign, no coordinates, just that. But here's the thing. She didn't sound scared. She sounded ready. And I think that's where this story is going. Not rescue, not restoration, not a sudden return to normal, but something slower, stranger, grittier, adaptation. I saw something today I want to share. A boy. Couldn't have been older than 10. Walking down the middle of the street with an umbrella over his head and a kite string in his hand. But there was no kite. Just a piece of aluminum foil flapping on the line, catching the light, reflecting it down onto the pavement. I asked him what he was doing. He said, "Trying to trick the sun." Then he laughed. The kind of laugh kids make when they're not sure if something's funny or terrifying. And I thought, maybe he's right. Maybe the only way forward is sideways. Maybe we don't rebuild the old world, we mislead the new one. Keep it off balance. Keep it guessing. I'm losing battery again. The inverter's hissing. The solar panel's too hot to touch. I've shaded it with cardboard and wet cloth, but it's not helping much. So I'm going to end here for now. But I'll be back, even if all I've got is a whisper and a static hum. This is the voice in the dark, still sweating, still thinking, still sending. You are not alone. It's 12:03 p.m. I had to wait. The transmitter shut down an hour ago, too hot to function. Even with the fan running and a cold pack wedged under the power coupler, the air in here just stopped. I took off my shirt, soaked it in the last bit of meltwater from the cooler and tied it around the inverter like a tourniquet. It bought me 15 minutes. That's what we deal in now. Minutes. Outside, 124 degrees in the sun, 114 in the shade. The metal door handle to the supply room burned my palm. I wrapped my hand in cloth and used the tip of a screwdriver to pry it open. Inside was nothing, just a dried-out mop and an old extension cord twisted into a knot. No miracles today. The sky is pale white, no clouds, just haze, like smoke, but it doesn't smell like fire. It smells like static, like burned insulation, like the sun is right on the edge of peeling back the air and showing us what's underneath. The auroras returned last night. No warning, no radio ping, just light, shimmering in vertical columns, like transparent curtains rising from the ground instead of falling from the sky. I climbed onto the roof just to see it clearly. They weren't like the green veils we used to know. These were sharp, violet, red, even a strange bluish orange, pulsing, silent. I didn't hear a thing. No wind, no insects, just that eerie glow. They say it's harmless, just solar particles hitting the magnetosphere. But the power grid in Des Moines went dark at the same time. A convoy out of Little Rock vanished off lattice tracking minutes after. Coincidence? I doubt it. The sky's beautiful when it's about to kill you. I've been getting relay fragments from other stations. A pattern is starting to form. Eastern seaboard, static. Most nodes dark. Florida, silent since the first wave. Some say the southern tip is underwater. Some say it burned. No proof either way. Midwest has gone mobile. Convoy broadcasts, pop-up check-ins. They call them splash points. Temporary. Here for 12 hours, then gone. Fast-moving info hubs powered by whatever hasn't melted. Out west, it's bad. Phoenix reported 129 degrees yesterday. Asphalt exploding. Tires liquefying. They've turned airport hangars into cooling shelters with truckloads of ice hauled in from abandoned grocery freezers. One man named Carl called from one of those hangars. He said, "We've got 300 people under one roof. We've hung sheets soaked in mop water. We take shifts lying on the floor because it's cooler than the cots. No one argues anymore. We don't talk about politics. We don't talk about yesterday. We just drink and breathe and wait for dark." He said the worst part is watching the kids forget what trees looked like, what clouds looked like. Said one little girl saw a painting on a wall and asked, "Is that pretend?" We're losing memory now. Visual memory. Children are starting to believe the world was always yellow and silent and hot. I don't know how to fix that. But I can record it. Let it be known. This was not the way things were. There were thunderstorms and cool grass and dogs chasing butterflies through sprinklers. There were wind chimes. There was frost on windows in December. There were stars. Actual stars. Not just this washed-out soup of heat and haze. Write it down. Paint it if you can. Pass it on. We don't rebuild unless we remember what to aim for. Heard from an elderly couple in rural Maine, Harold and Anna. They live in a cabin 2 miles from the nearest paved road. Said the power died weeks ago. No generator, no solar, just old gas lamps and canned food and a hand-crank weather radio that's older than most of you listening. They haven't seen another person in 19 days. But they're not afraid. They've built a schedule. Mornings are for gathering, afternoons for resting, evenings for radio. They sit on the porch, facing what used to be a pond, and they talk about everything. What they saw today, what they dreamed last night, what they remember from when the world still made sense. Anna said, "We've survived 3 blizzards, 2 hurricanes, and 1 heartbreak too many. This question mark. This is just another weather pattern." I asked her if she was scared. She said, "I'd be scared if I forgot how to laugh." I didn't laugh, but I smiled. There are still people like that. People who are older than the grid. People who remember how to live slow. People who never needed a microwave or a weather app or a podcast to fill the silence. They're the ones getting through this. Maybe they always were. News from the Gulf Coast. A relay from a research vessel named Albedo came through the fringe frequencies. Not sure how they're still transmitting. Must be onboard diesel and hardwired antennas. They reported abnormal water temperatures, surface reading of 94 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not a typo. Corals dead. Fish floating. Ocean reflecting the sky like a mirror cracked across a plate of boiling soup. They said a water spout touched down without warning. No pressure drop. No cloud formation. Just vertical wind and steam rising into the upper atmosphere. Said it wasn't a tornado. It was something else. And then the signal cut. Not static. Not distortion. Just silence. Like the ocean swallowed the mic. I've logged it. Someone else will too. Somewhere. I'm going to try to cool the transmitter again. Wrap it in wet cloth and drape it near the fan. I've got 20 more minutes of charge before the inverter clicks off. Before I go, here's something you can do. If you're listening, write down everything you remember about the sky. Not now. Not the white glare above your roof. The old sky. The blue one. The cloudy one. The one that danced with lightning and sang with thunder and opened wide at night to show us constellations. Write it on paper, on a wall, on the back of a cereal box. Draw it in the dust on your car windshield. Because one day, someone's going to ask, and you better have an answer. This is the voice in the dark, trying to remember, trying not to forget. Trying to keep the world warm in a way the sun never could. It's 1:32 p.m. Outside the door, it's 1:27. Inside, it's quieter than it should be. Not silent. Just waiting. That stillness you feel before a thunderstorm, except there's no storm coming. Just more heat, more light, more of whatever this is. It feels like the world is stretching, thinning out, like the edges are fraying, like everything's still here, technically, but not in the way it used to be. Even my voice sounds different now, echoes weirdly in this room. Could be the heat, could be my ears. I haven't slept properly in 2 nights, maybe more. I've started measuring time by when the batteries cool down enough to run the transmitter. Morning cycle, midday cycle, night broadcast. That's the calendar now. Hot, hotter. Broadcast. I heard from someone in Quebec this morning, Pierre. His French is rough, English even rougher, but he got the message across. Said parts of the northern forests are on fire. Not like wildfires, more like creeping burns, ground-level heat that smolders through roots and blackens the soil. He called it la braise, the ember. Says it moves underfoot, quiet, no smoke unless it finds something wet. says the moose are gone, birds are silent, air is still. He and a group of 7 others, mostly retired folks, have taken refuge in an old ranger cabin. Thick walls, stone base, tin roof. They've sealed it with wet towels and dug a trench to funnel water from a spring into barrels. Still gets to 98 inside, but that's survivable, he says. They play cards in the dark. Listen to transmissions like this. Write letters they'll never mail. Pierre said, "We are living like our grandparents again, except now no one thinks we are romantic. They just think we are the last page." I asked him what keeps him going. He said, "The radio, and the fact that I have not died yet." He meant it. He meant it in that hard, practical way people speak when they know survival isn't glamorous. Another call came in from Nevada. Someone named Jess in a place called Alamo. Said the local high school was turned into a relief point by a couple of veterans and a mechanic. They rigged a swamp cooler using irrigation hoses and a windmill. They hung wet sheets across the gym windows and ran fans off an old diesel generator with parts scavenged from school buses. And it works. That's the wild part. It actually works. Keeps the main room at 91 degrees during peak sun, which, in this hellscape, feels like an oasis. They take in anyone who walks through the fence. Jess said they don't ask questions. You walk in, you get a cup of water and a cot. You stay as long as you don't bring trouble. One guy tried to steal from the water cache. He's buried outside now. They wrote his name on a piece of cardboard and stuck it to a stick. There are no police anymore. Only agreements. I keep hearing this phrase in survivor calls. It's not chaos, it's arrangement. People are figuring it out. Not order, not rules, just what keeps people alive. There was a young girl in Arizona, maybe 11, who wrote into one of the low-band mailboxes. It's a repeater system, picks up text-based signals, converts them, and rebroadcasts as slow beeps that certain rigs can decode. Takes 5 minutes to send a paragraph, slower than Morse. Her message read, "My mom says the sun used to feel warm. Now it bites. We live under a tarp with mirrors. I found a dead lizard that was smiling. I think he saw something before he died. I saved that one, not because it makes sense, but because it's true. Even now, even when the air stings, and the light bends and the silence feels like a warning, kids are writing things down, watching, noticing. And maybe that's what keeps the future possible. It's not the adults fixing wires. It's the children learning how to see this world without pretending it's normal." The inverter's whining again. I've got maybe 10 minutes before this thing cuts out and I have to retreat into the dark corner with the cooler fan and wait for something to cool down. Anything. So I'll leave you with this. There are 3 things that seem to matter now. Shade, water, memory. Keep them all. Guard shade like it's gold. Guard water like it's blood. Guard memory like it's your soul. Because without memory, we won't know what we're trying to come back to. Without memory, we'll just dig in and die slower. But with it, maybe we plant something. Maybe we build something. Maybe we write down enough that someone, someday, somewhere far from now, will read it and whisper, "Oh, so that's how they survived." This is the voice in the dark, still scribbling on the edge of heat and breath, still broadcasting because that's what humans do when they're scared. We talk. And I'll keep talking until the static swallows me whole. Stay shaded, stay quiet, and please, remember. It's 2:58 p.m., No clouds, no birds, no sound but the soft buzz of the inverter struggling against the weight of the air. I've wrapped it in another wet towel, sat it on a slab of brick I pulled from outside just to keep it off the floor. The brick was cooler than the inside of the building. That tells you enough. It's 131 degrees now. Even the ants have stopped moving. I opened the side door for ventilation and nearly passed out from the pressure shift, like the sun itself was standing just beyond the threshold, daring me to take another step. I didn't. Instead, I closed the door again and whispered something I didn't expect to say out loud. Please stop. Not to the sun, to time, to whatever rhythm this world has fallen into, where everything turns to glass and skin feels like parchment. I'm not the only one reaching a limit. There's a community northwest of Amarillo calling itself Pale Ridge. It used to be a farming town. Corn, soy, cattle. The water tables dropped a decade ago, and the land turned to dust. Most people left. Those who stayed, they learned how to live in shadows. And now they've buried every reflective surface. Mirrors, screens, windows, even old aluminum baking pans, covered them with soil and black canvas. Anything that could bounce light. They say it messes with the sky. That reflections get noticed now. Not by people, by something else. They didn't say what. They didn't have to. There's this feeling, like the sky is watching. They've got runners, kids on bicycles with rubber-wrapped tires and canvas hoods who make short trips at dawn and dusk, collect supplies, trade, spread information, but only between known locations. If someone new shows up and they don't pass a verbal code test, they're turned away. No exceptions. They're not cruel, just careful. It's how they've survived this long. The code is simple. What color was the moon when the grid died? Correct answer. Orange, like rust on fire. If you say red or gold or full, they know you're lying. Or worse, that you weren't watching when it happened. That's how specific the memory is. That's how sharp the moment was. And I remember it too. I remember stepping outside and looking up as the lights in my neighborhood blinked off, one by one, and the moon sat low in the east like a dying ember. I remember the quiet, the unnatural, echoing quiet. That was the first night I believed we might not get back. There's a man in eastern Washington, goes by Rook. Probably not his real name. He runs a narrowband station from inside an old post office surrounded by sandbags and steel drums. He said he's logged 23 cases of electronic hallucinations. That's what he calls them. Not visions, not dreams, not madness. Hallucinations caused by unstable electrical residue, EM ghosting, he says. Pockets of static so dense that they produce after images in the brain. The way lightning sometimes makes you see shapes long after it's gone. He described a man walking past a window every morning at the same time, even though no one's lived in the house for weeks, or the sound of a phone ringing from a deadline, or a voice calling out your name in the middle of a broadcast. He said, "We think it's the power grid that's fried, but maybe it's our sense of time that's damaged. Maybe the sun cooked our memories into the air." And I thought, yeah, that tracks. Because some mornings I wake up and forget that this isn't how it's always been. That I used to drive to the store. That I used to have cold milk. That I used to have a face I saw in mirrors, not just my reflection in the chrome of the radio console. I don't even know how I look anymore. Maybe that's a gift. I got a message from someone named Lee in what's left of Chicago. She's part of a network called The Loop. Not the old transit loop, a new one. People who've mapped underground tunnels. Subways, freight corridors, storm drains. They've made a city beneath the city. She said they're cool down there, in more ways than one. Temp holds steady around 80 if they keep the vents open and the candles spaced. They've got a library, a real one. Books, paper, notebooks filled with diagrams and recipes and letters to people who may never read them. They teach kids how to boil water and repair shoes and track the sun with a tin plate and a string. Lee said something I wrote down. We used to pray for light. Now we pray for shade. Progress isn't always forward. I think that's what this is. A backward walk into survival. Not regression. Not collapse. Relearning. I've got 5 more minutes before this battery gives out. So here's what I want you to do. If you have chalk, write messages on pavement. The sun will bleach them out by sunset, but that's okay. If you have water, pour some near a window and see how long it takes to vanish. Time it. That's your local evaporation rate. That's your new clock. If you have a mirror, cover it. Not because it's dangerous, because it's a relic. We don't need reflections right now. We need vision. This is the voice in the dark, not broken, not silent, just adapting. And I'll keep adapting until there's nothing left to change. Shade yourselves. Drink slowly. Speak less. Listen more. And if you see the sky blink, once, sharp, blue, duck. Don't ask why. Just trust me. It's 4:21 p.m. The heat broke something in the roof. I heard a long crack, followed by a groan like the building was exhaling for the first time in hours. Dust fell from the rafters. Just dust, for now. But I've moved the rig back under the desk, where the wall meets the floor. Cooler there. Not by much, but enough to matter. The station smells like metal and old paper and skin. Everything feels brittle. Everything creaks. Even my thoughts feel like they're trying to curl inward. I haven't heard from the northern towers since this morning. Duluth is quiet. Thunder Bay, dead. I'm not saying they're gone, but when every relay you rely on goes dark in a straight vertical line, you start to wonder what the sun is aiming at. The last signal from the lattice included a phrase I've never seen before. Geostorm cascading. It's not a forecast. It's a condition. They said it means the magnetosphere is folding in pulses, not layers. Picture a drum skin getting hit over and over again, too fast to recover. Every pulse stacks on the last, warping the field, creating waves in the ionosphere like ripples in hot glass. Those waves hit radio. They hit satellites. They hit planes. There's a theory now, shared from someone deep in what's left of NOAA, that the reason we're seeing auroras in daylight isn't because of strength, but because the upper atmosphere is thinning. Less shield, less scatter, more direct hits. Someone else said the atmosphere's bruising. That one stuck with me. I got a short-range transmission today from a boy named Marcus. 11, maybe 12, said he's in Kansas City. His dad built a tiny Faraday cage around a CB radio in the back of their basement using chicken wire, duct tape, and oven racks. It only works when no one else is moving upstairs. He told me, "We eat in the dark. Mom says we're practicing for later." Then he asked me if stars can still see us. I didn't have an answer. I just said yes. And maybe that was a lie, but maybe not. Maybe stars don't need to see us. Maybe they just keep burning, keep singing, no matter what happens down here. Maybe that's the lesson. Keep glowing, even when no one's watching. Got a call from a woman named Yvonne in what's left of Sacramento. She's running a heat kitchen. Not a soup kitchen, a heat kitchen. Reverse engineering an old root cellar, they bury water tanks 6 feet down and pull air across them using an old industrial fan powered by a hand crank. They can cool small batches of food, just enough to make it last another day or two. People line up at dawn, share things, trade. Not just food, knowledge, ideas. Yvonne told me, nobody's trying to rebuild anymore. We're learning how to stay low, how to keep quiet, how to not need. And that makes sense to me, because maybe this isn't a pause. Maybe this is a test of subtraction, of what happens when the noise is gone and the light is too much, and all you have left is what you can carry in your mind. Maybe we're not meant to rebuild the world we lost. Maybe we're supposed to build something smaller, wiser, cooler, quieter, like we were always supposed to. Someone in New Mexico, couldn't catch the name, sent in a fragment that just said, "We're harvesting moonlight in jars? It's not real, but it helps." I sat with that one for a while. Maybe that's the future. Maybe it's not about power or rescue or return. Maybe it's about harvesting belief, gathering memory, bottling moments of stillness like they're medicine. We can't fix the sun, but we can change how we carry the light. I'm down to 1 cell on the inverter. The fan is sputtering again, pulling warm air across my neck like the breath of a dying furnace. I'll sign off soon, but not before I say this. If you're listening, write. Not just survival tips, not just warnings, but thoughts, emotions, regrets, dreams, stories. Write them in charcoal on a wall. Scratch them into wood. Whisper them into a recorder powered by a single solar cell. Just don't go quiet, because the silence isn't empty anymore. It's waiting. This is the voice in the dark. Worn thin, scraped down. Still loud enough to matter. Back soon, unless I melt first. Keep cool. Stay small. Hide your mirrors. It's 5:42 p.m. I had to wait for the temperature to drop. Not because it's cooler, it's not, but because the transmitter refused to power on until I gave it a rest. The metal casing was hot enough to fry an egg. I know that's a cliché, but it's true. I cracked one out of curiosity last night. Old stock, probably bad. And it sizzled, on contact, right on the station floor tile. I didn't eat it, just watched it cook. That's where we are now, watching things change shape. Outside, it's 1:20 in the shade. The birds are gone. Haven't seen one in days. No feathers, no wings, no caws, no songs. Just heat. Like even flight gave up. Heard from a relay out of Montana, somewhere outside Missoula. A ranger station turned broadcast point. They've started keeping solar diaries. Actual handwritten logs, tracking the shape and size of the sun by eye each morning and afternoon. They say it looks different now. Not just brighter, sharper, angrier. One entry read, "It stares back." They also noted something strange. Tools left outside in the morning. Metal tools don't just heat up. Some of them warp, ever so slightly. A spade curved. A pair of pliers twisted at the hinge. No fire, no force, just pressure. Silent distortion. One guy joked the sun is folding time like a wet towel. No one laughed. I got a shaky call from a trucker named Cal, holed up just east of Tucson. He pulled off an overpass when his GPS started glitching, showed him spinning in circles on a blank road. He figured it was a software bug. Then his engine died. That was 3 days ago. He's been living in the cab since, windows blacked out, heat sheets draped over the windshield, drinking melted ice from his cooler. He had one call left in the battery pack and used it to reach me. Said he's not afraid of dying. Said he's afraid no one will remember his name. Said it like it mattered more than water. So if you're listening, calculations, 42nd, long-haul driver, 2 kids in Oregon, left Chicago 5 days before the first flare hit. His voice shook when he spoke, but he still said thank you when I promised I'd remember him. I will. I remember all of you. That's what this is now. Record keeping. Not rescue. Not news. Just memory. Memory made loud. Spoke with someone on the southern band. Signal bouncing off the atmospheric fringe above the Gulf. Said they're operating from a floating barge turned relay point, somewhere between Galveston and what's left of Port Arthur. Said the ocean's changed color. Not blue, not green. Gray, matte, like someone took the shine out of it. The wind smells like plastic, like something synthetic boiling off the sea. They've seen no ships, no planes, just jellyfish, thousands, rising to the surface and dissolving into foam, like the ocean sweating out its old life. Someone else mentioned fog. Thick, white, choking fog coming in from the east, carrying static and heat. Not cool. Hot fog. Burning fog. One man walked into it with a soaked cloth over his mouth. Came back 20 minutes later with burns on his neck and no memory of what happened. He just said, "It sounded like glass." I don't know what that means, but I believe him. Because the sun isn't just burning now, it's humming. Subtle. A frequency I only feel when I lie completely still. A vibration in my teeth. A buzz in the power lines that don't carry power anymore, like we're all inside a tuning fork the size of the planet. I caught a whisper signal out of Nevada again. Jess, from the relief point. She says they've started rotating underground. 5 hours in, 5 hours out. Nobody can stay on the surface too long. Not anymore. The heat penetrates. Not just skin, but thought. People forget things. Where they put their shoes. Whether they drank water. Whether they spoke. One man asked the same question 12 times in one afternoon. Is it Sunday? Nobody answered. Because no one knows what day it is anymore. Time is solar now. Hot. Less hot. Hot again. Repeat. And yet, this is the strangest part. People are still finding each other. In the ruins. In the static. In the in-between spaces where the sun hasn't scorched all the words away. A woman named Mari in Minneapolis said they turned the city's skyways into greenhouses. Not high-tech, just sheets of plastic, recycled soil, and whatever seeds they could scavenge. Lettuce, radishes, something green to remind them the earth still tries. She said, "It's not enough to eat, but it's enough to stay human." That sentence broke me, because she's right. Food is fuel, but green is memory. Green is proof. Proof that not everything is ash. Proof that light can grow, not just burn. I'm almost out of power again. My hands are shaking. Not from fear, from dehydration. I've been sipping from a plastic jug that smells like rubber. I don't care. It's wet. So here's what I'm leaving you with today. If the heat is too much, dig. If the light blinds you, turn your back to it. If the silence grows teeth, speak. Even if no one answers. Because someone might. This is the voice in the dark, recording everything, forgetting nothing, keeping time in the static. Talk to me if you can. I'll be listening, even when I'm gone. It's 6:49 p.m. I've stopped checking clocks. They lie now. All of them. Even the wind-up one I trusted. Second hand slowed to a crawl, then spun backward for 20 seconds like it changed its mind. I threw it in the trash and kept talking. That's all I have left. This voice. I don't know how many of you can still hear it. But I'm still here. Still whispering into the ruins. The inverter is dying. Every cycle gets shorter. I bought a few more minutes by cooling it with the last of the emergency packs from the station freezer. Used to be for heat stroke victims. Now it's for the machine that lets me speak. Seems appropriate. It's still over 120. The air feels thick. I opened the outer door just a crack and was hit with a wall of heat so sharp it made me step back. Not just hot, heavy, like walking into a kiln. And quiet. So damn quiet. No engines, no voices, no bugs, no wind. Just a hiss that might be my ears ringing, or the sound of the earth holding its breath. I got a relay this afternoon from what's left of Dallas. They're calling it the Griddle. A dozen blocks of rooftop gardens that went brown in 2 days. Melted irrigation tubes, burned PVC, even concrete cracked like dry skin. A man named Omar said they buried everything flammable. Except their hope. They're running a cooling trench through an abandoned subway line. It's a 20-hour dig. Bare hands, metal pails, borrowed picks. But they're doing it. Because what else is there? You either dig or you burn. He ended the call with this. It doesn't matter if we make it. It matters that we try. And I sat here, in the dark hum of this failing box of wires, and I whispered that back to myself over and over. It matters that we try. Got a message from a woman named Sylvia near Anchorage. Yeah, Alaska. You'd think it would be safe up there. It's not. Heat wave cracked the permafrost. Tundras bubbling. Rivers turned red with iron runoff from ruptured soil. Animals dead in groups, like they were trying to move together and just stopped. She said it smells like blood. She said they've gone nocturnal now. Only surface at night. Use moonlight and reflective strips from old road signs to guide them. They carry walkie-talkies wrapped in foil and powered by cranks. They don't use names, only voices. They've seen lights in the north, not auroras. Flickers, blue, then red, then blue again. Always at the same time of night, 3:11 a.m. They call it the beacon. They don't go near it. One man did. Didn't come back. Sylvia said, "It's not just heat. It's intention." I don't know what that means, but it's not the first time I've heard it. 3 different stations, one in Utah, one in Maine, and one drifting off Baja, have all reported directional heat. As in, the sun isn't just shining anymore. It's pointing, like a flashlight, or a weapon. I don't have theories. I'm done with theories. All I have are signals, like the one I caught yesterday, a woman crying in French, repeating the same phrase over and over. Le soleil est vivant. Il me regarde. The sun is alive. It is watching me. That broadcast didn't come from Earth. It came from orbit. A weak, decaying signal tagged to an old research satellite, a relic. Someone must have hot-wired it to send bursts down when it passed over. I tried to trace it. Couldn't. It's gone now. But that voice, it's burned into the tape. I played it back 3 times. She wasn't screaming. She was whispering. That scared me more. Sometimes I wonder if this is still natural, if the sun we knew just got angry, or if something changed up there, something behind the flare, behind the pulses. Not a god, not aliens, just something old, older than satellites, older than radio. Something that knew we were watching and decided to watch back. But maybe that's the heat talking, or the loneliness. Speaking of, I haven't had a voice check-in from the Rockies in 4 days. Not since the snow melted off Pikes Peak in one night. Not since the town of Silverthorne reported its reservoir boiled down to mud. If you're up there, if you're hearing this, send a tone. Just a ping. 1 note. So we know you're still breathing, because that's what we are now. Breaths in the static. Short. Fragile. Still real. I'll stay on another 5 minutes before the battery fails. Then I'll cool it, pace, ration what's left of my water, and wait for the night breeze that may or may not come. In the meantime, if you're still writing, don't stop. If you're still hiding, stay hidden. If you're still dreaming, keep the dreams small and sharp. Because this world doesn't want us loud anymore. It wants us slow, careful, remembering. This is the voice in the dark. 1 bar left, no backup. Still whispering, still here. It's 8:17 p.m. Something's wrong with the light. I don't mean it's brighter or hotter or sharper. We've already seen that. This is different. It flickers. Not like a bulb going out. Like it's pulsing. On and off, like a breath. 1 second, everything's golden. The next, it's pale and sickly and the shadows don't match the angles they're supposed to. I tried to ignore it at first. Thought maybe I was tired, dehydrated, hallucinating. But then I heard it on the relay. A man near Flagstaff said the trees were casting 2 shadows at once. One from the sun, one from something else. Something colder. Something that didn't move. He said his dog wouldn't walk through it. Just stood there, whimpering, tail down, refusing to step forward. That was 12 hours ago. I haven't heard back since. There's a humming now. Not in the equipment, in the air. You feel it in your jaw, in your teeth. Like standing too close to a transformer, except there's no electricity. Just heat and static, and that low, rattling note that seems to settle behind your eyes. I've started grinding my teeth in my sleep. Dreams are getting worse. Not dreams, exactly. Flashes, snapshots, things that don't belong. I saw a staircase made of bone, a telephone ringing underwater, a sun that blinked. Not flared. Blinked. I don't think I've slept more than 3 hours in 2 days. And I know I'm not the only one. I got a ping from someone outside Cheyenne. Couldn't catch their name. Signal was too warped. They said people are starting to sleep in shifts. Not because of fear, but because of dreams. Shared dreams. The same ones. They all see fire without smoke. They all hear a countdown they can't read. And they all wake up at the same time. 3:11 a.m. The same moment the beacon in Alaska flares up. Coincidence? I don't believe in coincidence anymore. I had to shut off the interior lights a few minutes ago. They were too bright. Not in lumens, just wrong. The glow they gave off felt like it was pushing against my eyes, like it wanted inside. I replaced them with candles. They flicker too, But that makes sense. That's real. I trust fire more than I trust electricity now. Fire doesn't lie. Heard from Houston. What's left of it? A woman named Tasha. Used to be a school teacher. Now runs a signal net from inside a collapsed parking garage. Thick concrete. Low ceilings. They've strung wires through the wreckage to create passive cooling. Airflow without fans. She teaches kids how to listen for patterns. Morse, pulses, hums, even silence. She said, "The new alphabet is vibration. The sun speaks. We need to learn to answer." I asked her if she was afraid. She said, "Not afraid. Just quiet." Then the line dropped. Got another call from someone in Nova Scotia. He said the sky turned white for 10 full seconds this morning. No blue, no cloud, just white. Then everything went red. Then back to normal. His power grid was already down. His solar inverter exploded 2 days ago. He only had enough juice left in the hand crank to say one last thing. The sun is boiling space itself. Then silence. No name. No repeat. I don't even know if the call was real. But I believe it. Because I've started noticing something I don't know how to explain. The light comes in waves now. I counted them earlier. 7 pulses per minute. Slow, gentle, almost like a heartbeat. It shouldn't do that. Light doesn't pulse on its own. But it is. I pointed a mirror at it. Watched the wall. Same thing. Pulse, pulse, pause. Like it's breathing, or waiting, or thinking. I'm not trying to scare you. Really, I'm not. But if you've noticed this too, if you've seen the light flicker, or the shadows multiply, or the air buzz, write it down. Say it out loud. Tell someone. Even if they look at you like you're losing it. Because you're not. We're just seeing something we were never meant to understand. And it's looking back. I'm down to 1 bar again. The fan gave up a while ago. My clothes are soaked through, and my throat feels like I swallowed chalk. But I'll keep talking. Because someone has to. Someone has to witness. Someone has to speak when the rest of the world falls silent. If you're still out there, send a ping, a tone, a whisper. Doesn't matter what you say. Just don't be quiet. This is the voice in the dark. And the light is changing. It's 9:39 p.m. Temperature inside the station dropped to 101. That's low enough now to be called a break. I almost cried when I saw it. Not because it's good, just because it means the gear might hold another hour, maybe 2. I've set the last backup battery on a steel shelf in front of the fan. Let it breathe. Let it cool. I'm starting to treat my tools like people. They have moods, limits, schedules. Just like me. There's something wrong with the sky. Not just the light now, the shape. A listener in Boise sent a sketch. They said the horizon looks warped, like the edges of the world are folding inward, tilting slightly toward the center, like we're standing in a shallow bowl and only now realizing it. Another relay, from a storm cellar in rural Mississippi, confirmed the same. Said the stars no longer rise where they used to. Said the moon skipped a night. Just didn't show up. No clouds, no haze, just nothing. Then the next night, it was there again, but wrong. Too low, too orange, with a shadow that didn't match its shape. They tried to record it on analog tape. The tape curled in the heat and shredded in the deck, left a scorched black streak across the head. They played it anyway, said it didn't sound like silence, said it sounded like breathing. 3 breaths, long, deep, hollow. I know how this sounds, but I've spent enough time talking to static to know when something's pretending not to be there. I got a voice message from someone hunkered down outside of Amarillo. Kyle, ex-Air Force, retired communications tech, says this pattern, what we're hearing, what we're seeing, it's not random. He thinks the CME wasn't just a burst. He thinks it was a signal, not a message we sent. A response, his theory. We've been broadcasting into the dark for too long. Music, math, radio waves, pulses, microwave scans of the cosmic background. Decades of electromagnetic fingerprints bleeding into space. And this was the answer. Not a conversation. An interruption. He said, "What if the sun didn't change? What if the sky didn't break? What if we just finally got noticed?" He signed off with coordinates. I marked them. 35.3381 degrees north, 101.4158 degrees west, somewhere near the Canadian River Basin. If anyone's nearby, check it out, safely, at night, briefly. Leave a mark if you go. Scratch something into metal, something that'll last, something heat can't erase. There was a voice tonight from someone in St. Louis. They didn't say their name, just said, "We've gone underground. It's cooler down here, quieter, but the dreams are louder." They said they've started sleeping with their hands over their ears, not to block out noise, but to stop something from getting in. They said the light has found its way into their thoughts. "I dream of sunspots that speak," they said. "I see patterns in the burn on my arm. It looks like writing." I didn't ask for proof. I believe them. Because I've got marks too. On my shoulder, left side, red line, like a weld scar. I thought it was heat rash. Now, I'm not sure. Maybe we're changing too. Not mutating, not evolving. Reacting to the pulse, to whatever is humming beneath the burn of every day, to the language of fire that we were never meant to read. I don't have answers. I don't have time. But I have a voice. And as long as this battery holds, I'll keep using it. So here's what I want from you tonight. Write something. Anything. Etch your name into a spoon. Carve a memory into wood. Tell someone a story from the world before. Because if this really is the end, and I'm not saying it is, but if it is, then let's leave something behind that isn't just ash and signal decay. Let's leave stories. Let's leave proof that we tried to matter. This is the voice in the dark. Still here, still burning, but slower now. I'll be back if the pulse allows.